Alright, I'm about to start the oil change on my 2006 Zx6R. This would apply to most sport bikes. First of all, make sure you're in a level surface ground. I'm doing it in my garage, so it's pretty level. I'm going to turn on the bike. You always want to do the oil change when the temperature is high. Right now you can tell the temperature on my bike is like 152. I just took it for a short ride, maybe like a 10-minute ride, and that should be good enough. As long as it's over 150, you're good. So that's 152, we're good there. Over here I have everything I need to do the oil change. Make sure you have everything already ready and handy. I have the oil, which should be the correct grade for the motorcycle. Most sport bikes require 10W40, and make sure it's 4-stroke oil. I recommend the Can-N oil filter. They're easier to take out and put back in. Then I have my ratchet with the correct kit, an Allen key wrench. This right here is the wrench for the oil filter, which we'll be using to take out the oil filter. And this is a funnel. Any funnel would work. And that's the drain pan where you would put all the old oil in. First step, basically, you have to remove the side fairing. The side fairing is required to be taken out. And it's this right here. It's really dark. And then I have to take out also the lower side fairing, which is that right there. To take out the side fairing, you have to take out these 3 screws right here. 1, 2, and 3. And to pull out the lower fairing, you have to take out on the other side. To pull out both lower fairings at the same time, just take out 5 screws that are right here. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to take those out real quick and I'll show you what happens. Okay, so once you take the screws I mentioned before, the whole side fairing will come out connected to the lower side fairing. This is the side fairing, this is the lower side fairing, and it's both sides, so it'll come out together as one piece. The bike now looks like this. The bike basically right now is exposed. It doesn't have the side fairing, doesn't have the lower side fairing. This is what you need to be looking at. You get down here, this is the oil filter right here, and you need to take that out, but in a second. This is the drain plug down here. And after you take that out, that's when all the old oil will come out. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to grab my ratchet and take this out. Oh, give me a sec. Basically, you take your ratchet now, put the right socket, which is size 11/16 for this motorcycle. And we're going to take this bolt out right here. You want to go counterclockwise, and it shouldn't be that tight, so just take your time, take it out, and we'll see. Here, do it. So I'm going to take it out right now. I'm going to go counterclockwise. And then all the old oil will start dripping. So make sure you don't burn yourself. This will be really hot. If it drops in the pan, just make sure you get it out. But try to get it before it drops in the pan. That way you won't have any hot oil in it. That dripped on me. It's not too hot. So then you see all the old oil is coming out. It's pretty black. That's when you want to change it. I'm changing it right now because I'm going to store it for the winter, but you should also change the oil then. So basically we're going to wait for it to drain. Make sure you put the drain pan underneath before you do that, so then you won't get any spills on your garage or whatever you're doing it on. But that's pretty good right there. So we'll let it drain, and I'll come back with the next steps. As you can tell now, the oil is almost done draining. What we're going to do now is put this kind of like in the middle, since this is big enough to where I can take the oil filter out. Once I get the oil filter out, some oil will drip from this too. So you want to make sure you move your pan to where it's right underneath the oil filter. So when we pull it out, you won't spill anything in your garage either. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out right now, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to take out the oil filter. I already loosened it up a little bit. And you can loosen it up with an oil wrench. It'll help a little bit. You see how it's dripping underneath? So we got oil coming out of there, so you want to have your oil pan underneath so you won't make a mess. The rest should just come out by hand. There. So that's what that looks like. Right there. Don't put it directly on. Okay, you just want to let it drip completely again. come back with the next steps. Okay, so now this is the new oil filter. I just took it out. This is the K&N filter. This little thing right here attached to a ratchet, to a socket, on the ratchet, and that helps to take it out. Only K&N does that, so this is way easier to pull them out if you have this type of oil filters. That's why I like them. This gasket here, this is the rubber gasket. You want to get some old oil. You want to get some old oil, or you can use the new oil, but it works just as good to use the old oil. And basically, you just want to go over the gasket with your finger. This will help keep the rubber good through the winter or through the cold weather changes. It will prevent the rubber gasket from cracking or anything like that. So you always want to do this before you put it back in. So do it really good around the whole thing. And then the oil is basically done dripping. You make sure it's done dripping. And you just screw it clockwise. You just go clockwise on it. Just put it in. After it makes initial contact with the thing, since I don't have a torque wrench, I just do it by hand. Right now it just made contact. So basically you just want to go about 3/4 of a turn more. So you just turn it by hand. Don't use the tool for this because you can damage the gasket right here on the motorcycle, and you don't want to do that. So basically just go 3 turns, or just go hand tight. Right there is good. So now that you have your new oil filter put in, you just want to put the drain plug back in also. Put that in right now. Again, on this thing, you don't want to go too tight. So once it's in, tighten off. Just go about 3/4 more. I use a ratchet for this just because it's kind of hard to get through by hand. So after initial contact, you want to go about 3 turns also. So that's about 3/4 of a turn. You don't want to go too tight. So let's tighten off. Make sure nothing's dripping. Take your rag and just clean it up to make sure nothing's dripping at the end when you're done. On this too. So now it's all clean. Like good right there. That should be good. So now when you have the drain plug put back in on the new oil filter, you want to start putting your new oil, and I'll show you where that goes. That's on the other side of the motorcycle. Now, to put the oil back in on the right side of the motorcycle, you have to take this cap out. Okay, again, so take this cap off. We go counterclockwise. Take it off. We can move the pan out of the way to make sure we don't spill anything. Okay, so that came off. Then you take your oil funnel, put it there, and you just start refilling it with the new oil that you purchased. So you want to go slow. It's basically going to take all the oil in a whole gallon, pretty much almost a gallon. It's like 3.7 quarts, just almost a gallon. This is going to take a while, so I'm just going to pause it real quick. Close the whole time, just for a little bit. Ready? Okay. So now I just added all the oil in. You want to make sure you're between the low level line and the high level line. So you don't want to go above that or below that, because if you put too much oil in, it adds too much pressure to the engine, and you don't want that. If you go below that, you won't have enough lubrication. So I'm gonna put the crankcase lid back on, the cap. So you go clockwise on this, put it in. You don't want to go too tight because that's still not that level. As you can tell, the motorcycle is still in the stands. To check the oil good, this is on the stand still right now. The front one right there, and then the rear one right there. To check the oil level, that gives you a rough estimate, but to check it good, you have to make sure you're like on the ground and the bike is level good. So I'm gonna take the bike off the stands right now. Okay, now as you can tell, I took the stands off. The bike is completely leveled. It's on the just in the garage floor right now. You can tell the bike's straight up. I used just a wooden block right there on the side kick, and that basically keeps it straight. You want it as straight as possible. That's as straight as it's gonna get on this garage. And then you want to check the oil level again. You can tell it's still between the two lines right there. So now what you want to do is start the engine. So you get over here, start a motorcycle. And what this will do is it'll get the new oil running through the filter. Since the filter is new, it still has no oil in it. So you start it on right now. Let it run for about a minute or two. And then just shut it back off. Okay, so after you let the engine run for about 2 minutes, you turn it off and let the oil basically settle down again for another 2 minutes. As you can tell right now on the level on the side glass right here, it dropped down a little bit, and that's because, like I said, it ran through the filter, it ran through the engine, and we've let it settle down for about 2 minutes again, like I said. So it went down a little bit. It's still between the two marks. That's the low mark, the high mark. But I always like having it closer to the high mark, so I'm going to go ahead and take the cap off again and add a little oil more. You don't have to do this. As long as it's between the two marks, you're good. But I'm going to do it just because I prefer it that way. So I'm just going to add a little more oil again. Just a little. You don't have to add too much. And you can tell it's going up a little bit. A little more. Okay, and that's about perfect. You can tell the oil is brand new. It's really clean compared to the one that was coming off before when we took it out. So take it, close it, put the cap back on, go clockwise to close it. So now you're done with the oil change. You can tell it's really close to the high mark, but it's not above it. Like I said, you don't want to go above that mark. After that, you're done with that. What you want to do is make sure you don't have any leaks right here with your plug. Just make sure, this is the oil plug right here. You want to make sure there's no leaks. Like I said, it's not leaking at all. You can tell. So that's good. You don't want to close it too tight, like I said, either. And the same thing with the filter. You want to go around the bike. You can also check your filter, make sure it's not leaking. You can tell this is good. There's no leaks there, no leaks there. So you're good to go. At this point, you're done with the oil change. You need to just put your fairing back on and you'll be ready to go. So let me put that back on. You gotta just put the 3 screws over here on this side and the 5 on the other side. And that'll be it. So I just installed the fairing again. Okay, so I just reinstalled the side fairing on this side. And the whole lower fairings. Just putting back in the screws that we took out initially. And the bike is done. The whole oil change is complete. The oil change that you have right there, I have it on the oil pan right there. Make sure that if you want to get rid of the oil, don't just dispose it and throw it outside because that's illegal. Wherever you bought the oil, make sure you take it back to them. By EPA rules, they have to take that back. And they just recycle it. That's what they do with the old oil. So just make sure you don't dispose it, don't throw it away in the garbage. Just take it back and put it back in the old container. I have the container right there. Just put it back in there and take it back, and they'll take it back. And you're done. Enjoy your ride.